gonna pop up, and then you can all applaud. It's gonna be great, all right? We're gonna practice real quick, okay? All right, let's practice. Let's do this, okay? You know what, that was good enough. Fuck it, I'm just gonna start. We're good. I'm saving it all for all of you. Yeah, because that's the best it's gonna get. It's, what, it's halfway through Saturday? We can do way better than that, chat. All right, what, how are you gonna respond to that? That's right! My fans are better than your fans, mysterious other room. Hello, everybody. I hate this. No. Like, well, are these traversable? No, they're not wireless. Damn it. I hate being like the egotistical person who sits up here and talks at you all for an hour. You could literally just go outside and go buy merchandise or make out with a cosplayer with their permission. That you know, excuse me. I'm just saying, like, who wants to sit in a room and listen to someone talk for an hour?
I do.
Okay, who of you who are well-adjusted and mentally sound want to sit here and listen to someone talk for an hour? But, yeah, we might as well start early, because, like, I don't know, chances are I'm going to need the extra time anyway. You don't have to climb on a plot, we can just nod solemnly. We all doing okay tonight? We feeling good? We rested? We showered?
Yeah.
We ate food? Half of you are lying, but I can see it on your faces. We hydrated? We're all taking it? No? Yeah. All right. All of you who brought your water, take a sip right now. Let's see how many of you are hydro homies. The rest of you are thirsty thoughts. Well, hello everyone. If your opinion of me has not already been sunk 10 feet into the ground, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Sean Chiplock. I'm known for voicing people like that attractive man in the back who's dressed like Supernatsky. That's right, he's my stunt double. Anytime I don't want to answer a question, do you think like whenever two Subarus from different timelines run into each other, like one of them has to evaporate into just a puddle of blood immediately? Because, right? That's not supposed to happen. That's like the main theory behind algebra. Anyway, right? So, where was I going with this? Oh, my name is Sean Chiplock. I'm a professional voice actor who has been doing this craft for, oh man, about 18 years now. That's right, my career can date itself if it wanted to. I grew up in Michigan and I studied college, that's right. I now have a PhD in college. I get it, you have a bigger audience, shut up! You're making me feel very intimidated. Damn it! I hate it. That's what my whole industry is who can scream louder and do it cleaner for longer. That's what it feels like when I do anime anyway. But I've been doing voiceover for about 18 years. Professionally, full-time, I've been doing it for a little over 12. And I guess I should run through some of the stuff I've done. Who's heard me as the birds and the tree in The Legend of Zelda? Goodbye to 200 hours of your life a month.
Exactly.
Who has heard me as Mishima Yuki in Persona 5? That's right, if you wanted to make any real progress in the post-game, you absolutely had to listen to my character, because otherwise, none of your non-active party members are getting any experience. That's what I call job insurance. Who has heard me as Supernatsky in Re:Zero? Yeah, that was the quietest bunch. It's like none of you wanted to acknowledge the horrors of that show. Like, yeah, I know that show, unfortunately. Who knows me as Detective Eugene McQuacklin in the hit Nintendo Sleeper Switch game Duck Detective? That's great. You all are gonna learn by the end of tonight. That's all I'm gonna talk about. It's gonna be like a Rampart Reddit Q&A. I'm just gonna bring everything back to Duck Detective at the end of the question. That's your fault, not mine. I should name one. Oh, Guido Mista, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. All right, here's a deep cut. Daddy Warbucks in my middle school 6th grade production of Little Orphan Annie. I knew it. I knew one of you would follow me to this day. I knew the court restraining order was not going to hold you back. I appreciate the commitment to the bit. Commitment is what it's all about. Round of applause for my personal stalker. Thank you very much. The clapping was supposed to cover for me escaping out of it. That's Seriously, you come up to me and you give me your personal information and address, I will go on Amazon.com and we will find the cheapest bootleg Hot Wheels car and I will have it shipped to your house. I'm not signing it because you missed your window for that. I was in autographs literally all goddamn day. You think I'm joking? I have a giant 59-inch stuffed wolf. 59 inches? Yes, 59-inch stuffed wolf named Loki that lives in my room. And when I went to a convention near a Great Wolf Lodge in Texas, I went to the staff and I said, "Who wants a giant wolf?" By the end of that night, 24 wolves, priced at $63.99 each, had been ordered for the members of the convention staff. And for the next 3 months, all I got were updates from the Wolf Pack, as it was so named. That is my life. You think I do voiceover? No, voiceover is like 10% of what I do. Welcome to the Sean Chiplock podcast. So anyway, outside of voiceover, I have worn many hats. I was a student at one point. I was a QA tester for NIS America at one point. I was best friends with Crush the Sea Turtle at Disneyland California Adventure. Totally tubular, dude. I also had, that's the funniest part, is because I worked there for 3 months. I literally did my 90-day probation, booked ReZero during that time, vocally went, I can't keep doing this. In 2 days, 2 days after they gave me my mouse ears and... The joke is dead! Like my career after AI! That's not funny, don't laugh, I'm very upset about it. I know, right? Anyway, so, where was I going with this? I was talking about the other jobs that I had, and then I worked at Disney California. What? The mouse ears, thank you. So that's ADHD at work, kids. I enthusiastically talk about something for 30 minutes and God forbid my attention is distracted for 5 seconds. I don't know why the hell any of you are here. What panel is happening right now?
Who are you?
So I got my mouse ears and then 2 days after I got indoctrinated, no, that's not the right, it is the right word, it's Disney we're talking about. 2 days after I got indoctrinated into the House of Mouse, I went, here's my 2 weeks. Sorry, but because I finished my probationary period, I am officially Disney alumni. Suck it, mouse. All right. You can't say that. I can, I'm not on your contract anymore. True fact though, you cannot actually reveal like any of the magic that happens at any of the parks, even after you're done working for them, because their contract they have you sign has a lifetime NDA against spoiling the magic of behind the scenes. There was an 85-year-old woman who had done work for them for 30 years, and during a Q&A at some event, she kind of revealed some of the inner workings of back when she worked at them, and they sent her a lawyer's letter 2 weeks later. So they are dead serious about that kind of thing. Almost like Nintendo, but that's a story for maybe later during this panel. Yes, so I've been doing voiceover for about 12 years professionally, and I've been on video games, I've been on anime, I've done a couple commercials, I was a Hot Wheels person at one point, and this is, I guess, supposed to be a general Q&A, but it doesn't have to be about voiceover. It could be about how I got started in my career. You could be an aspiring voice actor who would like resources and information. It could be about like balancing work and life, because I know how many of us are freelancers in some regard, either artists or musicians or... Really? That is a way lower number than I'm used to there being. I'm so sorry. That was such power in the way that you raised your hand. Like you own that with confidence. I appreciate that. It could be about whatever the hell is going on over there. Like, is some volunteer at the back room? Do we have a staff member that's willing to check what that panel is so I can just make jokes about them for the rest of the hour? It's anime openings? Ranking anime openings. All you care about is My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen. If it doesn't have the word Monogatari in it, you don't give a crap. Seriously. But it could be about anything, and I was going to just run this to the person asking the question, so the reason why I didn't want you to cheer is now you have to project, which any Saturday night when you've been screaming all day is going to be a chore. So I will do my best to hear your question, and then answer the one I want to answer and not what you actually asked. And we're going to do that for an hour, and then you all leave. Does that sound fun? Woo! All right, so who wants to kick this off? Go ahead.
What's the most disturbing
The most disturbing voiceover. So this is a true. Okay, is there anyone here that's particularly like squeamish? Like if I describe like, I'm gonna mute this because I think my partner's on this call and they are not gonna want to hear this part. All right. So, how many people played Last of Us 2? All right. This is the story called "The Birth of Jesus, the Baby Chicken Noodle." So, Last of Us 2, on any video game, especially more visceral video games, you have a section that are called efforts. Now, these could be simple efforts like running. This could be climbing a ladder. Something like that. It could be lifting up or pushing a heavy boulder. These are all real things I've had to do in the booth. It could also be, and I'm not going to do this for the sake of my health, getting grappled from behind. Having a knife shoved into your throat, having an axe split into the back of your skull before being punted off of a cliff, also having a Molotov cocktail thrown at your feet while you're standing in a puddle of gas. I too wish I could meet my end that way. Burning. Parents, this is the millennial dream, okay? We don't want to own a house anymore. We want to die in a way that ends up on national news headlines, okay?
Yeah.
It's not like healthcare is going to get us there.
Nope.
That was a dark laugh. Let's go. So it could be that you're lit on fire and you're screaming as you're burning alive for 10 seconds, and then the client has to discern whether they want it to be a sharp cutoff or a slow cutoff. So basically say, it runs the whole gamut. Any Marvel game, you're going to be getting electrocuted, burned alive, teleported, your mind controlled, made into a brainless zombie, turned into a puddle of goop. That was my favorite sound effect I ever did. They said, hey, what is the sound of a plant monster running across the wet ground of its own tendrils? And I went, I got paid for that. Anyway, I did. Don't laugh. I made more than you did doing that noise. I'm glad this is a fun crowd. And I'm going to try and not make all these answers 20 minutes long, because then we're only going to have time for 3 of them. But hey. So the effort that I needed to do was, you have been held from behind, the main character has used you as a meat shield, and then they cut your throat open with a knife, and you are choking to death on your own blood falling to the ground. This is a real effort that I had to do. Now, so I tend to go very visceral with these. Like, if I can find a better position, like if I'm supposed to sound out of breath, like I might lay myself on top of a chair so that it's like pressing against my stomach. That'll be story 2. That's right, you're getting a 40-minute answer out of a 5-second question. And so I'm doing this, I'm like drinking a little bit of water, I'm keeping it in my throat so it sounds very wet and visceral. And around the 3rd take, I feel something. And as everyone knows, when all of your throat is air, feeling something is not good. So, in my worry to be like, oh God, am I about to like upchuck in the middle of a session, I instinctively move back and I cup my hands in front of my face for whatever is going to happen. About 2 hours before this session, I wanted to eat light because I knew it was going to be vocally stressful. So I had a bowl of chicken noodle soup.
Oh.
And very gracefully, like almost you could hear the out comes into my palms a single undigested chicken noodle by itself. No liquid, no anything else, just a baby chicken noodle. It had little googly eyes and it went as it's sitting in my palm. So I adore it, realize I'm not ready for that kind of responsibility, dumped it into the trash like a Kardashian, and then immediately turned. I thought that was going to be funny, I'm sorry. Not all these are going to be winners. It did have a good butt, though. It was a fantastic chicken noodle butt. And then I leaned to the microphone and I went, hey guys, I just want to let you know, I had a little thing happen. I'm okay. You didn't do it to me. I'm totally fine. I'm just going to hydrate a bit and I'll be good to go. And the director, he punches in, he goes, are you sure you're okay? You doing good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. He goes, okay, well, 2 things. First of all, that was not the first time, nor is that the last time that has happened during one of our sessions. But second thing, congratulations, you are the first person who stayed on mic the entire time you did that. So we have the audio, and we checked it, and it's usable, so with your permission, we're keeping it. And slit a guy's throat and it sounds like he's giving birth to chicken noodle soup. Guess what? That's voice acting, baby! Yes, you can clap. That's the end of that story. Alright. Mini side story, because I can't even talk about the project this is for yet. So, I walk into the booth one day, and there is the normal stuff. There's hot tea, there's napkins if I need to blow my nose, and there's 2 6-packs of strawberry jello. And I go, and a towel, and I go, what the fuck is this about? And so we were doing battle efforts that day, and the way that this studio wanted to do things was they found that if you needed really visceral sounds, the best way to get it was to have something caught in your throat. Not stuck, but something that was malleable, because if the air has to go around like a piece of food, it's going to have that kind of blocked sensation to it. So Jello made the most sense, because Jello, if you accidentally inhale it, you're not going to do much damage to yourself. You know, it's not going to cause any friction damage, you know, going up or down your throat. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I don't know what the towel is for, but I'll take maybe the towel is for like if I'm sweating or something like that. So I take a spoonful of Jello, and I pop it into my mouth, and I find a place to hold in my throat. This is part of the job, man. Like, this is sometimes what you have to do for these AAA projects. And I hold the Jello in my throat, and they're like, okay, you ready to go? I'm like, and they show me the animation of what I'm going to do, and they're like, okay, this is the effort. And so they're saying, all right, we're going to play it once, and then you're going to hear 3 beeps, and you're good to go. I do the first effort. And with the speed of a Tesla rocket going to space, my fragment of Jello rockets out of my mouth. Like, you know, have you ever done that thing in the pool where you like cup your hands and you like press it really fast and it squirts like an oyster? That's what happened with my throat, and it propelled the piece of Jello so hard that it shot out of my mouth, hit the corner of the booth, and shattered like a frag grenade. And I looked at the towel and went, that's what that's for. So this is real. This is 100% real. Listen, when they're paying you $1,000 for 2 hours, I do whatever the hell they want me to do, okay? By the end of the session, from like catching fragments of Jello, it looked like I was a child in medieval Britain dying of a bronchitis infection, you know? Like, there was just so much smeared red Jello on that towel. And I'm like, you know, I could do the funniest thing where I just like, I cough into it as I'm leaving the booth, saying hi to the next person, just go, good luck in there. So, and that were the stories of the 2 roughest sessions I've ever had, or grossest things I've ever had to do. Applaud. You're very good. I like this audience. Go ahead.
What are some of like the weirdest, like, you know when you're like autographing and people take pictures with you?
You all are very weird. Yes, that's true.
What's the weirdest one you have to do that wasn't the email?
So here's a 60-minute story about no. This is actually a very simple answer. I was reminded of it earlier today. Several years ago, oh god, it was called Consinity or something like that. Anyway, someone brought me they brought me a pizza, a slice of pizza, and they were like, will you sign this slice of pizza? And I said, I will, but I don't want to waste a perfectly good slice of pizza, so I'll cut you a deal. If you eat up to the crust, I will sign the crust, and then we will break bread and eat the crust together. And that is exactly what happened. They ate the pizza, like, it was weird. It was like they accordioned it and then just like all the way in their mouth. You know what someone takes like this is my special skill is making allegories that make you go, that's disgusting, but also I completely understand what you're saying. So you know people who can like pop a cherry in their mouth and then they pull it back out and the stem is tied? This dude like shoved the pizza into his mouth and then when he pulled it back out, it was just crust. The rest of it was just gone. And so I signed it in gold Sharpie, and then we broke it apart, and we both ate my signed pizza crust together, and then he paid me $40 for something he no longer had. The second weirdest, because any good story has a second, it's science, all right? One time is a fluke, second time now you're seeing a trend, okay? The second time was someone brought, how many of you got the special edition of Breath of the Wild that came with that little memorabilia book that has like the group of them all standing together? It's like that nice blue, none of you like Legend of Zelda at all? What? You think you got it? It was a $150 Master Edition box that was as tall as a 5-year-old child, and you're not quite sure whether or not you ordered it. Did you ever come home and a guy from Amazon had dropped off a pit bull-sized cage in front of your house? Is there a part of your long-term memory that I'm sorry? This is how I got into character for Rivali, is I just roasted anyone within the vicinity. So thank you for helping ensure that if they call me back for a third game, I'm rearing to go. So someone brought that to me and they were like, oh, you know, because they had each of the cast members sign it in a way that their character would. So like, for Sidon, they had them use a watercolor pen. For the person who voices Princess Zelda, who is Patricia Somerset, she taught herself the Hylian language and she knows how to write in that language. And he's like, but I don't know how Rivali would do it. And I'm like, he'd probably sign with his feet or something, right? Like, 'cause he doesn't sign. Stop groaning! Let me tell the story! You already know where it's going, some of them don't. Let me catch them up to speed. Thank you, geniuses. And I'm like, I don't think he'd be able to hold it in his wing. And he's like, yeah, I guess that would make sense, but like, you're not gonna sign it with your feet. And I did that look that only drunk people and ADHD people with no social battery left give you, when it's like, try me? Where the bet look, where he was like, you wouldn't do that, would you? And I just looked at him with, and then he followed up with, you will? And I went, do you want me to? And he goes, I guess. I'm like, no. This is a mutual consent sort of signature. Do you want me to sign it with my foot? And he goes, yeah, sure, let's do it. I went, okay. So I took off my left shoe, and I took off my left sock, and a crowd was already gathering, which 1 times out of 3 does not end well for me, especially when it's in public. And I wedged the paint pen in between my big toe and my second toe, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he goes, that's great, it's gonna make this even more memorable. So we put it on the ground, and I proceeded to chicken scratch my signature and a little doodle of Rivali's feet on this thing. And then I said, do you want to get a photo with it? And he goes, yeah. And I went, well, there's a condition. I said, I just touched this with my foot. I'm not putting my hands on this, but I can't hold it up with only 1 foot. It's gonna hang down here. I need your help. So here's a crowd of 50 people watching the single best photo we've ever taken of the con, where he and I both have a bare foot clinging to either side of this booklet, holding it up. And then we ate pizza crust, you know, that's just how it goes. And that's the story of the time my athlete's foot got on someone's signature. I'm joking. I didn't have athlete's foot for another 6 months after that. We're fine. Anyway, are you sure you want to ask a question after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a slightly more serious one.
Also, take note, men, the women are the only ones with confidence to ask questions tonight. Step up.
Do you think with the way AI is developing, it is still worth to attempt to get into voice acting?
So, there's multiple layers to this. This is going to be partly comedic, but mostly serious. The reason why I'm in voiceover is not because I saw it as a way to make a lot of money, or even because I saw it as like a fun hobby that I could do. It's Stockholm Syndrome. I'm not joking. It is Stockholm Syndrome. If I were to take a month and say, I'm going to tell my agent to not send me any auditions, I'm going to tell, folks to not refer me to anything, I would go goddamn crazy after a week wondering what opportunities I potentially missed out on. Because let's look at it this way. Who of us in their right minds would have ever expected that Zelda was going to get a voiced game after the CDI era? Genuinely, raise your hand if you think we were going to get... No, you're lying. No, I believe you. Most of us would have never dreamed of it in 100 years. There is no possible way that I could have imagined 5 years after moving to California that I would have been in the one Zelda game to actually outperform Ocarina of Time, you know? So it's that question of like, if I wasn't in it, if I wasn't doing it every day, if I wasn't doing it every week, what opportunities would I be missing out on? So it doesn't matter. Like, I will be one of the last people dragged out kicking and screaming if AI happens to completely take over my job, because I just like doing it. It doesn't matter what other people think about my career. It doesn't matter what other technologies are in there. I want to be in that booth voicing cats, voicing monsters, voicing heroes with flaming swords and backflip sword attacks. It's cool, and I want to do it. That's why I do it. But even outside of that, I don't know, I'll get to you. Is it relevant to the current question? Okay, I will, don't worry. if I have to stay longer, because autographs are closed by the time this is over. So if you all are entertained and there isn't another panel happening here at 6:30 or 6:45, I will stay here. I don't give a shit. I have no social life. You are my social life, and then I go outside and everyone's like, hey Sean, like, screw off, go back to the hotel. You had your chance for like 8 hours today. That's right, I get paid when I socialize with you. Isn't that the life though? Like, if someone said, hey, you want to meet me up for lunch? And I'm like, will you pay me $100? I'm like, yeah, sure. Oh yeah, let's go. Here's the other thing. AI, of course, is going to replace any amount of any sector. It's already replaced part of translation, it's already replaced part of motion capture, it's already replaced part of business organization. In voiceover specifically, there is always going to be people who don't approve of the technology. There's always going to be creators, whether it's indie creators or large-scale studios. Someone at some point is going to go, that's nice, I want a real human being. Because at the end of the day, we are social creatures. We want to connect, we want to share each other's stories, even on just a very foundational level. Think of how many times you have gone out to, say, a theme park, and you brought a friend along, not for any special reason, just because they happen to be available, but your experience was enhanced because whatever happened during that experience, you were sharing with another person. How many have had a memory like that where it was enhanced by someone else you like being there? Why would it be any different for voiceover? There are jobs that I've worked where we've spent half the time recording and the other half just laughing our asses off at a funny frame that happened, like when we paused the audio where Subaru looks like this, for some reason. Like, and with AI, there's no human connection there. So, you know, I'm no genius, I'm no tech genius. I can't make any guesses about how good AI is going to get about replicating a human performance. I could say, yeah, it doesn't sound believable right now, and then in 5 years, who knows what's possible, you know? The people who played Pong back in the 80s had no idea what game tech would be capable of now in the 2020s, so who frickin' knows at this point? But your core question, to make sure I'm not totally off base, was how do I feel AI affects the ability to get into voice acting? Is that it?
It was more like, do you think it's still worth it to attempt to get into voice?
If your heart is in it, there is no amount of dissuading that is going to prevent you from doing it. I immediately tell people, and this is something Tony Oliver imparted on me, if there is anything you would rather be doing, go do that instead. Because I can tell you right now, I am one of the 14% of actors who can say that they do this stuff full time. Like, I don't have a secondary source of income. Voiceover is it. That is what I do. I also have no free time. I mean, zero free time. Last year in October, my Nintendo Switch had 8 hours logged on it for all of October. Most days that I'm home, I'm doing auditions or sessions or freelance or my stream, which is work in its own regard because it's advertising myself, or I'm spending time with my wife, or I'm spending time with my cats, which I know is not work, or I'm spending time with my partner, again, not work, but it's still all things that are preventing me from doing, like, just having my own introvert time. Anyone in here who's an introvert understands introvert time is separate from all other time. It is, I am doing my thing and the rest of the world does not exist to me. We get that? Yep. I don't have that time to myself. I mostly, for me, it's convention evenings because I'm at the hotel and I can just kind of spend time by myself. But it is worth it to me because I enjoy the craft so much that I am willing to do that. So if you don't have that kind of connection to it, then it's just a serious question you have to ask yourself of, is this something I want to commit myself to? Because auditions are not paid. I pay for workshops, and that's no guarantee of work anyway. My life often has to revolve around, literally, there is a commercial gig that I'm in the running for. They told me I'm a last choice, or not last choice, I'm in the final consideration for it, and they want to know my availability. Giving them my availability may mean I have to cut a trip to my dad a day early, just so that I have that window of time that I can offer to them for a job I may not even have. And it can be very cutthroat in that regard. So, yeah, I'm just talking myself in circles at this point. If the heart is there, I think you're going to find a reason to do it regardless. And this is also me assuring you that voiceover is so wide. It is so big. You've got radio, you've got promo, you've got movie trailer, you've got commercial, you've got video games, you've got anime, you've got Western animation, you've got e-learning, you've got educational iterations for businesses. There's some months where my highest paying job is a 2-hour video teaching old farts how to use Outlook email. I'm not making that up. One of my biggest paying jobs to the tune of about $650 2 years ago was to start a new email. Press the create new email button. In the subject line, you can put in the subject of your email or leave it blank. It was 2 hours of that. I'm not making that up. There are so many different facets of VO that if your heart is in it, I'm sure you can find something that you excel at. There's subtitling for movies, the people who explain what's going on screen for folks who are hard of sight, who need to have it described. There's so many different facets that I'm positive you can make a living off of it if you're willing to commit yourself. So, I hope that gives you some hope, because I feel like everyone has their own story to tell, and AI can only guess at what you want, whereas a human being can that's, all right, I could have saved you 15 minutes of this answer. The core of AI is that it can only guess based on the training data it is given. If you give it a script, it will guess what kind of performance it's supposed to give based on whatever data they happen to give it. And if they didn't give it good data, it's not going to give a good performance. A trained voice actor with no prior experience in that project can look at a script, look at the character, find elements of ourselves and our lives that we understand about that character, and go, here's the story I think this character wants to tell, and give an organic, believable performance that it comes from decisions that we are making in the moment that could be fresh, could be educated, could be anything. AI cannot do that. And as long as there are people in this world who understand that, there's always going to be a room for humans. So, yeah, snaps! All right, go ahead, Subaru.
Okay, so what is the difference in experience between voicing a character like Figure and voicing a character like Subaru, like dub versus...
Difference in experience?
Yeah, well, not experience, but like how it works behind the scenes.
Hydration, homie break. That means the rest of you too.
Oh shit.
Juice! Alright, so sorry, I got distracted, ADHD. So you said the difference between Kinger and Subaru in regards to what specifically?
The process behind the scenes for the voice acting. Like, what do they shoot?
Okay.
How do they guide you through it?
I'm going to try and not generalize it to just anime versus animation, but I'm gonna see if I can give a specific answer to that. So, on that core level of animation versus anime, when it comes to Kinger, we are given the script, we'll do a table read, and then they'll schedule a session for us to record our character. Whereas they'll get like generally multiple takes, and if they aren't sure how they want to animate it yet, they'll say, can we try one that's a little more desperate? Can we try one that's a little more intimate, like it's more quiet and hushed? They'll try a couple different options. The reason being because once they figure out what way they want to animate it and what story they want to tell, they'll pick the takes that they like and animate around those. That is extremely common for what's called prelay or Western animation. They will, often in Western animation, that's also the only time that multiple actors will be in the same room because the animators are using the audio to work off of. I don't know, how many of you heard that infamous story of James Woods voicing, was it James Woods who voiced Hades in the original Hercules? Where the animators didn't know what they wanted to do for Hades yet, but when James Woods gave his audition performance, the animators like so clearly envisioned what it was going to look like to picture that they hired him because they're like, he gave us a clear vision for what we wanted to do. So prelay is when the animators are working off of the audio. In anime, as you might imagine with dubbing, we get the video and the script from Japan, it's localized, translated, and then we go in to dub over the picture. Now, clients will do this differently, studios will do it differently, but generally the way it works is, if the character is on screen and their lips are moving, we can only be talking as long as their lips are moving. And if they pause, we have to find a way to organically pause in the middle of the sentence. That's why when we have lines where the character's face is turned towards the background and you can't see their mouth, it's a blessing. I can do whatever the hell I want with that line. But then you get the cheated ones where like their jaw is just slightly moving and you're like, God damn it! You're so close! Well, okay, but perfect example, how many Breath of the Wild players here? Okay, there is one line from the Great Deku Tree that bugs the crap out of me. Does anyone remember the line where he goes,
Many have referred to me throughout the ages as the Deku Tree.
Right. So, did you notice that very awkward pause?
Many have referred to me throughout the ages as.
There was nothing we could do about that. Because in the Japanese, it was like, you know, like that. That was good. That was probably very insulting. Right? That's perfect Japanese. I don't know what you're talking about. But when we tried to translate the line, unfortunately, the timing did not allow for me to say, many have referred to me throughout the ages as, pause, the Deku Tree. In order to make it fit, we would have had to go,
many have referred to me throughout the ages as the Deku Tree.
It's like, why is he talking so fast? Did he take Adderall? So the best way that we could manage to make it fit was with that pacing, but it led to that awkward pause. So this is all part of the localization. You're learning more than you asked for, I'm sorry. This is what I mean when I say it's Stockholm Syndrome. I am so entranced by every part of the process, it's just fun to me. But obviously, so we're dubbing to picture. And we can make small adjustments, like sometimes we have to literally add a syllable or remove a syllable. How many of you have watched an anime where it seems like every character says, huh, or right, at the end of their sentence? That's bad localization. That is when they're like, oh, we're a flap short, we need to add a syllable. So instead of, so that's what you want to do, now they go, so that's what you want to do, huh? So, good localizers will try to avoid throwing on a single syllable word to the end of stuff. It's a hard process. A good writer, a good localizer, a good translator makes my job so much easier because the less editing we have to do in the studio, the more fun we get to have with the actual performance. So those are the core differences. I'm trying to see if there's like a difference between anime and like Kinger and Digital Circus in regards to like the performance type. And I don't think there's one inherent to the medium. It's specific to the project in the studio. For example, I'm going to show my age here. How many people watch Black Rock Shooter? Or Cowboy Bebop? Yeah? Okay. Would you call Cowboy Bebop, would you say Cowboy Bebop has the same energy as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Not at all. Cowboy Bebop is a slow drag off of a legal joint. And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is when you give the kid with a gluten sensitivity cheesecake, you know? And it's because of the project. So for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Tony Oliver explicitly told us, if you think you're going too big, you're probably going exactly the amount that you need to go. Versus Digital Circus, I'm sure you've noticed, the first episode was very, ham-fisted, but as it goes on, it's getting more and more serious. So I wouldn't be surprised if the creators are going, it's not so much comedy anymore. Another big example, who watched the original 2003 Full Metal Alchemist? All right, do we all remember the first half of the series was pretty lighthearted, and then somewhere around the middle, shit got real, and then the rest of the episodes you were like, where's the funny haha short jokes? Why is everyone dying? So it can change from episode to episode, from project to project. but really it's about, I guess where the difference comes in is, with anime, it's pretty easy to tell what the emotional context in, you know? If the scene is Subaru's getting eaten alive by rabbits, and I have to make an educated guess as to the type of performance that requires, I probably can shy away from, tentacles, not there. Yeah, right? It's more obvious. But with Digital Circus, when it's prelay, you kind of have that freedom to explore of, what if we did this from a despondent point of view? What if he's trying to be assuring to the person in front of him? What if he really doesn't know and they're both just kind of having a silent moment together? So it's also about the flexibility. Video games can, I know you didn't ask about video games, but shut up. Video games kind of sit in the middle where if you need to do it to time, usually it doesn't matter how you say the line as long as it's within that time frame, versus if there's no time to match, you have free reign. So that's kind of in the middle where even if I have to match like a 6-second Japanese reference, I can say the words however I want to say them as long as it's within that 6 seconds. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what also led to who played Age of Calamity? Okay, finally, Dynasty Warriors fans. There is a famous line that Rivali says where he's like, I think he says, Urbosa, your turn, or something like that. And the Japanese line, it was, Urbosa, it's your turn. And the Japanese reference went, Ikiyai! And I'm like, I don't think that's gonna fit, you know? And they said, okay, well, we can extend it. We have up to like a second in that, like 1.2 seconds. And they're like, but I don't think that's gonna fit either. And I'm like, bet. So I went, Urbosa, it's your turn. And they went, can we check that? 1.18 seconds? Goddamn! Like that was, this guy was very professional from Nintendo, and that was the first time all session he went 1.18. Goddamn! And then we moved on. So I hope that answered for you. I saw that you had your hand raised as well.
What is the funniest line you've ever recorded?
The funniest line I've ever recorded?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said this at my table a couple of times. Again, we're gonna have another allegory moment. So I've said some weird stuff in my career. You've also said some weird stuff in your career? What's the weirdest thing you've ever had to say? You are not the father? No, probably. So in Danganronpa, as Monotaro, I got paid to say the line, but Dad, when you lick me there, it makes me feel all funny.
What the fuck?
And that is not the weirdest thing that I've said. I heard you're like, I gotta go! No. Listen, I can't describe Danganronpa's murder scenes to you. If I did, you probably wouldn't let them play them anymore. So, this is our secret. I shouldn't say that to someone who looks like they could be my daughter. Anyway, no, don't repeat that, please. That's ADHD, creating trouble for yourself at every opportunity. But that's not the weirdest thing that I've said, or not the funniest thing that I've said. In JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there was a line where Guido Mista is really in charge of the situation. He's like, hey, if you don't start paying attention, things are gonna get a lot more difficult around here. You got that, you bobble-headed turd burglar? I had never said the words turd burglar off of a middle school playground in my life, or off of a South Park episode. So when I said the word turd burglar and heard it leave my mouth for the first time, I almost laughed. I did that little, like that little tweak at the edge of your mouth, and that is the closest I ever came to ruining my own take because of the industry of the theater term is corpsing. It's when you're supposed to be playing a dead corpse, but you react to something said on stage and you laugh and it gives away that you're not actually dead, you stupid amateur. But I held it together, but I was like, you turd burglar! We're good. So, that is the closest I've come to ruining my own take, but it was so funny. I really, really enjoyed that. The reason why I wish people would play Duck Detective is because very early in the game, the duck, one of his characteristics is he is incredibly addicted to sourdough bread. Like he has an unhealthy addiction. And literally, one of the first lines in the game I say is,
sweet, spongy loaf. Oh, you keep me safe at night.
like it's just, oh yeah, he goes, you can hear the, what was it, you know, like that love song? Yeah, that was, it got intense, but yes, that's the funniest thing I've ever said. Go ahead, yes.
So a more serious question. I am curious what some of your favorite warm-ups are for before a session. And my follow-up question that has nothing to do with that question is, have you done your fairy quest yet?
No, what do I need to get for you? So, that is a great question, and a great answer that I should be giving is, here's a list of the warm-ups that I do for about 30 to 45 minutes before I perform it all each day. That's what I should be saying. My actual answer is, oh, right, I'm supposed to do warm-ups.
No, I'm the same way, I feel you.
Well, I do technically do warm-ups. Like if I'm driving to a session, I'll, like literally any amount of humming or like, you know, it's very calming, you'll do, any kind of choir warm-up that you're gonna do will work for voiceover. In fact, it is not surprising, there are a lot of successful voiceover artists who are also singers because the kind of breath control and modulation required to be an efficient singer lends itself to being a very musical or a musicality honed actor as well. So I'll do the trill exercises, I'll do humming to myself, there's and the reason why those warm-ups work is not only to also warm up your throat, but if I can tell that my range is limited, like if on an average day I can go, you can tell it's a little worn out from talking all day. But if I'm driving and I try doing it, it goes, okay, I'm like, it's not happening. And I can use that knowledge going into the booth saying, hey, I can tell that my upper range is affected, so let's either, if it's a quick roll, let's knock that out first before it's even more worn down, or let's avoid doing any intense stuff until the end of the session, because if I wear it down even more, I'm gonna start sounding scratchy even before I do the rest of my lines. Did anyone, this is another deep cut, did anyone play Occupus Trip? It's a niche game. I was sick as a goddamn dog during that game. Did you play the card game scenario?
Yeah.
Alright. Do you remember hearing a guy who sounds like this during the entire scene? That was me, because my voice was shot. It was shot. As I left that session, I called my wife to tell her about I heard my voice, I was like, hey hon, I just finished up with my session. What the fuck is happening? And it was gone. It disappeared. I could not talk about this for about 2 days straight until my voice came back. Like that is how badly it was shot. Most directors will not make you do that, but those guys had a week to record 25 characters, and I was the one who was available. So, the question being about the warm-ups. So yes, when in doubt, you look up voiceover voice actor, because that is a book series, but they also have a website that has a page of warm-ups that you can do for yourself. But in general, any of the typical tongue twisters like Unique New York, Peter Pepper, picked a pot of peppers, whatever, anything that was your typical getting the muscles in your mouth and your throat moving, it all works for voiceover. Because your throat is a muscle. It needs to be warmed up the same way that you would warm up your body before doing strenuous stretches. It's that simple. I saw that the Subaru behind you had a question.
This kind of goes back to industry stuff. I know it doesn't happen super often because whether it's games, anime, or Western stuff, how often do you get to share a booth with one of your co-stars?
Very rarely, extremely rarely. In fact, recording for The Last of Us 2 was the last time that I was in a booth with anybody else. Like I said, 95% of voiceover projects are going to be done isolated. Commercial, you don't need more than one person, unless they're playing off of each other for a duet. Video games, it's individual. Anime, it's definitely individual unless they're doing what's called a walla session, which is when you have 5 people surrounding a microphone and they're providing the background noise that you hear during crowd scenes. But most sessions are done individually, with the one exception being prelay animation, because again, as I said, they are working off of the audio in order to animate around it.
Is that, like, when you are sharing booth with another voice actor or voice actors, how does that affect the recording experience or the product?
Oh, we're spitballing straw paper at each other all the time. We're trying to know. Like, generally, it's very chill. You said, how does that affect the recording process, or?
Recording process, or like how the end product comes out, I guess.
I imagine there may be like a call and response. Like maybe they'll say, hey, you're doing the call and you do the response. So I'll say, hey, come this way. And he goes, Roger, on your 6. Something like that, and it helps respond organically. With Last of Us 2, it was more of a way to give the actors breaks when we were doing lots of efforts. So, for example, if the roster that we were doing for a given portion of the session was pointing out where the play character is, and my lines would be like, up there! She's up there! The enemy's up there! I found her up there! Like literally 20 different variations of that. I would go through all of them, and then my partner would do the same thing as his character, but during the 2 minutes, 3 minutes he's doing that, I'm drinking water, resting my throat. It prevented us from doing up there, down here, over there for like 30 minutes straight, which will wear anybody out. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I assume that probably also helps with whatever, like, saving time that they have in the booth.
Yes.
Not wasting time.
Yes, yeah. Because they're still paying us the same amount, but if they can have us in the booth for 4 hours and effectively get 2 hours out of each actor, that is, they save the time for themselves.
Save the time from the booth.
Yes. Yep.
Alright, you just mentioned Walla. Now, from what I've heard, Walla, you're pretty much just kind of told to say random things because it's going to be in the background, probably barely.
For the most part.
For the most part. What's like the weirdest thing you decided to say,
So it's funny you bring that question up because there isn't really anything weird that's been said. Because one of the first things that they tell you in Walla is you are not there to be the spotlight. Because if it's a crowd where it's like, let's say that people are running away from the demon, and all of a sudden in the background you hear some guy go, I think I shit myself! Right, well here's the thing. All of a sudden you're paying attention to this random dude who has no relevance to the story, and it takes away from the message of something serious is happening and people are frightened and running away. So, when you go to a Walla session, the professionalism dictates that you are there to help set the scene. So they'll say, all right, so we're at a festival, so you guys can talk about like, hey, let's try out this arcade game, or, oh my gosh, this prize is so cute, will you win it for me? Stuff that would be relevant, but vague enough that it's not going to draw attention away from it. I think like the weirdest example that was allowed was like someone had like a running story where like every time his character showed back up, like every time he came in for the next Walla thing, he continued the saga of his dude was having terrible dates one after the other. And be like, yeah man, she pulled out the slippery eel juice and I just had no idea where it was going from there. I know, and then the OG spilled and like he just was going all over the place. But that was like a rare exception where like the anime was allowed to be a little bit more comedic. But for the most part, Walla is, here's the generic scene, say things that fit, here are words you're not allowed to say. Like for example, there aren't zombies here. So you can say, it's like they came back from the dead, or is that a reanimated monster? But if the word zombie does not exist, then you can't say zombie as a Walla person. So there are studios, like there were a couple studios that back when I was doing Walla sessions, that's kind of how they sussed out the people that they would invite to do actual auditions. Because if you couldn't follow instructions being part of a crowd, how could they trust you to follow instructions when people are actually listening to your voice, So the key was to be the best Walla actors were the people who just blended into everyone else's voices. Because it showed that you were a team player, it showed that you were there to be serious and do serious business, and that you were there to contribute to the project instead of be the star child who was in the spotlight. Does that make sense? So, I'm sorry if that was a more boring answer than what you were expecting, but yeah. I'm so glad you guys are you guys having fun?
Yeah!
Let's get with the orange cuffs.
Right. Who do you ship green Schwarzer with, and why is it Crow Armbrust?
Why is it Crow? No, that's the obvious answer. Okay, I'm gonna say officially Crow Armbrust because as long as Ring stays popular, they keep putting him into more Trails games, and that means more work for me. So woo, Crow Armbrust. Yeah, gang all the way. Let's go. But in reality, the only one that makes sense for him is Emma Milstein. Because she is the only one who shares the same trauma that he does, where it's like, I have a strong power, I don't want to lose control of it, but also it changes people's perception of me, or I'm scared if people know about the true power that I have, that they're not going to want to be around me anymore because I'm a dangerous entity. She is the only one that understands where Reen is coming from on a core level, because for the first 4 games and until the end of Reverie, that's what his character was about, was managing this power inside of him that he didn't know what to do with, right?
Yeah.
So,
I love that. That was a lot more serious and thoughtful than I was expecting.
yeah. Plus, she's the one I have a body pillow of, so. Shut up. She doesn't make fun of me. She says I'm the best kisser ever. I put a little squeaky toy for Build-A-Bear that says, you are the best kisser. The battery's dying on it, so. It's not funny, it's depressing. With the Al Yankovic hair.
Thank you.
That could go one of 2 ways. It went the good way.
Yeah, I had to think of it. I recently just got my commercial demo done. Do you think I should find a way to develop this, like voice 123 or cold calling before I apply for agency, or do you guys just go straight for the agency?
Okay, this answer is not going to make any sense to you, but bear with me, okay? If you're not sure whether you're ready, you're not. Like it's just this kind of, I don't want to say a sensation because that's not fair to people who aren't really experienced with it, but agencies, especially now more than ever, are very particular. How many folks I'm not going to name them because I don't want this to embarrass them. There's a colleague of mine who is insanely talented, and he got rejected from my agency, not because he wasn't good enough, but because they already had enough representation for the type of voice that he was able to provide. There was nothing wrong with his quality, it was purely just, we have enough of that type of actor, we're not looking for any at this time, thank you very much, which is heartbreaking in and of itself. You have to understand that to be repped by an agency, they need to view you as hireable. Not just, oh, he can be competitive, but he is competitive on a level where the only reason he wouldn't be picked is just because the client went with something slightly different, but his take was just as manageable as anybody else's, and it was literally just down to what is the finite detail. Like it could be a quality of your voice that you literally do not have that someone else did and they wanted that more, you know? So, the good thing about pay-to-play sites like Voice123, Voice Realm, Voice Bunny is if you have a decent demo, you're already going to be pretty far ahead of the game. When you're on a site that has a broad user base, just by knowing what the hell you're doing, you're already going to be in a really good spot. There was a website where most of the time the reason why I got hired is because the guy who was my direct competitor was reading stage notes as if they were character lines. Right, like that's the kind of competition that I was dealing with. So as long as I had a general idea of what I was doing, I was already ahead of the game. So I would know without listening to your demo if you're ready to go to an agency. What I would almost sooner do is save up money, take commercial workshops, and see the kind of feedback that you get from the people hosting those workshops. Because if the folks have like lots of people that are like, I feel like I'm missing this from you, I want to hear more of this, can you deliver it more like this? Then it's a sign that you're kind of missing that secret sauce that's making it really usable. But if they're often going, that was wonderful, I want to hear it with this instead, can we try it from this angle? Now you're at the level where they already believe the take that you're giving them, they just want to take you in a different direction, the way that a client would, to see how good you are at adapting on the fly. Because not only is it about, can you do a solid take, it's, can you do more than one approach without locking yourself into a specific performance? Workshops are great for that because At the end of the day, a demo is a specially curated, finely tuned, absolutely perfected 60 to 90 second showcase of your best performances. But that doesn't say anything about your ability to adapt on the fly once you're in the studio. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, have you been taking a lot of commercial workshops?
Yes, I have. I've been taking commercial practice for about a year and a half. Just recently on my demo.
Sweet! Who have you been training with?
Richard Tatum and Richard Moritz for my two big ones. Karen Olson.
Very good.
Peterson.
Has their feedback been indicative that you are ready to start pitching yourself to agencies?
Yes.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'd say the best bet is, for me, I feel like the best option is see or hunt down what kinds of places do workshops, like Voices Voice Casting, or the VO Pros, or Help Network, and look for workshop evenings hosted by the agency you want to be repped by. Go to that workshop, show them your A game, and then say, my name is such and such, I'm currently seeking representation. Because if you go to that workshop and you knock their goddamn socks off and then tell them that you're looking to be repped, why would they have any reason not to reach out to you? That's actually what happened for me. My agency, SPV, does not accept cold calls. They only accept referrals from talent. But they met me because of a workshop evening, and I impressed them so much switching between an NBA spot and a comedy spot and a movie trailer that they brought me in directly to do a live audition for them and then decided they wanted to sign me from there. So I just personally feel that demos are great, but being able to show that you can perform on the fly and give them what they're looking for in a live situation, that speaks volumes because that's not rehearsed. You have to just have the ability, have the skill set to do it in that moment. Does that help?
Yes.
All right. We're technically done in 4 minutes, but do you guys want to keep going? All right. We'll see how we're feeling at like 7:30, but who else has questions? Go way in the back. Yeah, I'll get you next, but way in the back. Yeah, you.
Have you ever personally seen like a voice actor who's had their career potential just completely ruined by like?
Have I ever seen a voice actor who's had their entire career potential ruined, and you were gonna because of?
Like either like an embarrassing photograph popped up on the internet, or like
An embarrassing photograph?
or they made like a social media post.
Listen, bud, someone got a photo of me giving birth to Kinger earlier today. If that doesn't ruin my career, nothing can at this point. But an embarrassing photo, or what else?
Like social media post.
Social media.
Not one for like.
Man, I wonder if any of us anime fans can think of a voice actor whose career potential was ruined because of behavior that could be seen as unprofessional. Man, I'm really pulling from my head for an example of that one. Do you guys happen to have an idea? Because I'm drawing a blank.
I have a picture.
You have a picture that's going to ruin your career potential? Don't show me. What were you going to say? I thought you, in the blue, you were going to say something? The one playing solitaire on their phone. Never mind. Oh, you were going to show me your embarrassing photo? No. I don't know in regards specifically to photographs, and talking back on AI, I feel like no one can trust like photographs of people anymore, considering how easy it is to manipulate that kind of thing. So I'm going to just focus specifically on the social media aspect. And I say this is going to get really serious, because some of you may know, who has been following me on Twitter before I moved to Blue Sky? Okay, so some of you know what went down like a year and a half ago. Yeah. So, this is an important lesson. This is specifically to you, to the Danganronpa, because your dad's going to look at you and go, the whole time I'm saying this. Many of us who are millennials or younger grew up during an era where we've had social media our entire lives. And without even thinking twice, we just started sharing every single aspect of our lives. Where we go to school, where we happen to live, what our hobbies are. For some of us with no social tact, what kind of dump we took that morning. And as a result, we gave countless strangers this infinite access into our private lives, which means for folks like me who are in, I guess I would consider it a celebrity position, we've opened the door for people to potentially use that against us. The example I give is, if we think about an average project, let's say for a given character, 100 or more likely 1,000 people audition for that character. And they eventually whittle it down to, let's say, their top 10. Any one of those 10 could voice that character. What do you think is one of the things the company is going to do to help whittle down their choices? Anyone want to take a guess?
Like look at background check of social media.
Yeah, if you think Disney or Nickelodeon or Nintendo are not doing background checks on you before they decide if they want to offer you a role, you're delirious. How many people can think of a negative thing to say about Charles Martinet, the previous voice of Mario? Can anyone think of a single negative thing that Charles Martinet has done? Can you think of a single negative thing he's done in social media? Has he ever flamed a troll? Has he ever called someone a slur? Has he ever done anything like that? No, and I bet you it's half because he's just genuinely a nice person, and half because Nintendo has a trained sniper on him at any given point in the day. And I know that can sound inhibiting, where it's like, oh great, so we have to live our entire lives catering to corporations that we eventually want to be hired by. Not necessarily true, but the advice is you have to be cognizant of every single thing that you do online and how it may affect your ability in the future. If you're someone who likes to be crass and likes edgy adult humor, you will find an audience that supports that. But if that's not the kind of audience you want to surround yourself with, then you need to change how you are conducting yourself online. I unfortunately learned that the hard way, because when I was younger, I used to be the kind of sarcastic dude who would want to take down trolls who thought they were funny. And all it took was some people holding a grudge, or taking it the wrong way, or taking something that I said and thinking I was meaning something incredibly inappropriate. And now all of a sudden, they had a crusade. They had a vendetta. They had something they could share to say, look at what this professional actor is doing on social media. And what do I have to defend against that? It's my words. I chose to say it at some point thinking I was the most hilarious person because I was totally dunking on that stupid idiot on social media. But 6 months later, was it worth it? Was it worth it being repeated 5, 10 years later? There is a volunteer. There was a person of interest who I got on a really bad side of many, many years ago. We worked together on a project, we had a falling out, and I royally pissed them off. Maybe not reasonably, but just they always felt like I hadn't gotten proper comeuppance for the way that they felt like I had treated them. And 8 years later, I am volunteering for a massive event. It's a huge event. I had to audition. It was a whole process. I got it. It was a select group of people that had been picked, and I was so ecstatic to be helping them out. This person, with the help of a small community of people that supported them, sent a bunch of false sexual harassment claims to the charity organization. The charity organization ultimately did not believe them, thank God. But because I was now a risk to the organization and to the event, to the charity sponsorship, they completely scrubbed me off of the event. Took me off of my shifts, took me off of the interview, didn't accept my prizes, and I, to my knowledge, have not been able to audition to help out with that event ever since. I actually had not done anything, but because I had given someone else ammo that they could use against me, because I gave them a reason to want to see me suffer, they had the knowledge, the access, and the opportunity to do something about it. That is what you do when you provide your info to people online. You do not know who you are talking to. You do not know who is accessing your info. You don't know. You don't know if they're just bored. You don't know if they're industry professionals. You don't know if there's someone with mental health issues. You don't know if there's someone who holds a grudge against you because you voiced a character that would be seen as an asshole in a project, and they don't know how to separate reality from fiction, and now they hold a grudge against you, the person. I hate to say this, I'm sure you know, being in Genshin, there are subsections of the Genshin fandom that have wished death upon my colleagues because their character did something really, really evil in the game. I'm not making that up. That's an unfortunate thing that has happened. So, going back to what I was saying, if 1,000 people are trying out for a role, if there's 10 people in final consideration, why would you give the client any reason whatsoever to go, we like them, but comma, but has killed so many potential roles that you can get. There's a panel that I host called Hire Me. It's not at this convention. But one of the things that I talk about is, it seems so stupid, but if you're someone people want to work with, people will want to work with you. That seems obvious. If you are incredibly skilled, but you're a pain in the ass to work with, at some point, they're going to find someone who's like, well, they're not exactly as talented as this guy, but we always leave feeling good when we work with this person, so let's just work with them. Because we're laughing, we're having a good time, we go out for food later, we enjoy each other. When we work with this person, everyone is frustrated and angry and taking it out on their friends. Why would you ever give someone a reason to put a comma, but when they bring you up? Does that make sense? I don't even remember who I was answering anymore. Was it you? Yes. Hi. Sorry. You're in my short-term memory, I promise. So the core lesson is you don't have to be a perfect angel. You just have to be aware of what you're choosing to do and how that may affect you. I know that I'm very open about sexual topics on my Blue Sky. I take part in adult projects. I advertise adult projects. I don't think there's any reason to be ashamed about that. Does that mean that there are companies who probably will not work with me because they want to work with someone who has a squeaky clean image? Probably. Is that a sacrifice I'm willing to take? That's something I have to ask myself. For example, I'm also very, very outspoken against cryptocurrency and against Nazis. Fuck Nazis, punch them in the fucking face. Woo! Trans rights or human rights, all of that stuff. Does that mean that there may be a client or a studio who doesn't want to work with me because, for whatever stupid fucking reason, they don't think trans people deserve to have rights and to be represented? Possibly. Is that a sacrifice I'm willing to make? Fuck yes. If you don't support trans rights, I don't want to work for you. And because it can have an actual effect, there was a project that I was slated to work on, and then I found out that it was an NFT style, it was a Web3, like, collectible cryptocurrency thing, and I politely told them, I said, guys, I didn't realize this was for cryptocurrency, I cannot in good faith support this or be a part of this given how outspoken I am. I'm not going to post about it, I'll let you be in charge of it, but I have to back out. I apologize, have a good day. 3 months down the line, they went, hey, we decided to ditch the cryptocurrency. We're not going to do it anymore, we're removing it, but we really wanted to have you on the project. If we can show that we're not doing crypto anymore, will you reconsider joining? I went, yeah, that was the only thing keeping me from joining your project. So, stand up for what you believe in, just be aware of the risks that you take, and ask yourself, is this trade-off something that is valuable to me? Does that make sense? Right? And at the end of the day, the thing that helps, I tell everyone to remember this. Any given day, you have a finite amount of time and a finite amount of energy. So ask yourself, what do I want to spend that time and energy on? Would I rather spend it uplifting and supporting and being supported by the communities that make me happy to be on this earth? Or pushing back? Now, that's also meaning standing up for communities that are, being marginalized or attacked. There is such a thing as supporting your communities by punching a fucking Nazi in the face. You stop clapping, I know, it's good, all right. Or do I want to spend that time constantly arguing with people who want me to suffer without just cause? And if you frame it that way, I think you'll find it a lot easier to go, why am I wasting my time on the second option? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so. Woo, serious answer. It's about 6:53. Let's see how we're feeling in 7 minutes. Anyone else got questions? Yes, I said I would go to you. That's right.
Have you ever had to ad-lib any lines while you're in the
Oh boy.
Let me think of one that I really enjoyed. Believe it or not, none of the JoJo lines were ad-libbed. All of those were translated, edited, localized away. The Jaunty Jiggle Sacks, Turd Burglar, those were all written as is. They were all in the script and I said them as is. I'm trying to think of an ad-lib that worked out really well. I'm trying to think of one that's appropriate for this panel, because a lot of the funny... Yeah, it's tough. I know one that didn't work out as well. There was a project, and you have to understand, this was recorded 2-3 years ago, so this joke was still fresh. My character was a teenager, all right? So teenage mentality, teenage sense of humor. And the line was, if they think we're gonna let them eat us, they've got another thing coming. And and I asked if I could try something different, and they said, sure. And I went, well, if they think we're gonna let them eat us, then they can eat these nuts. And they thought that was the funniest goddamn thing they had. Do I need to leave? Are we, oh, you're just, yeah, it's fine. Thank you. We're gonna pretend, yeah, I do not see them, we're fine. They thought it was the funniest goddamn thing, and I have proof of that because when I came in the following day for more recording, they were still bringing up how I said they can eat these nuts, and I felt great. But I forgot how long the video game production process is, which means this project is probably going to come out in like another 3 years, and people are going to be asking why in the year of our Lord 2028, eat these nuts was being said on a project, and I'm just going to be here like, wow, that actor is totally out of touch. Who voiced that character? Oh, there's no credits. I guess they didn't be known. But I'm trying to think of an example of an ad-lib I did that was like actually funny. Because improv is like one of my weakest skill sets. You wouldn't believe that sitting up here. I'm trying to think. Because, well, I mean, this kind of speaks to the industry because for the most part, I'm not supposed to change too much about what the script says. They have paid someone to localize that script. So outside of making adjustments to make it fit within a timestamp, I'm not supposed to mess around with it too much. Okay. Did you play Killer Instinct by any chance? You did. Did you ever play as Rash the Battletoad? Okay. Who here played Killer Instinct? Anybody? Alright. So, Rash the Battletoad's taunt is he kind of does like a beatbox to his own pause theme. I'm gonna see if I can bring this up real quick so you have an idea. I cannot type right now. I keep tapping Barley Tea, Battletoads, pause, music.
Oh, okay.
All right, this is literally the pause beat for Battletoads. That's all it is. So they were like, okay, so we're gonna play that in the background, and we want you to just mimic beatboxing to the music. And I proceeded to do about 2 minutes straight of beatbox air guitar. Because I didn't know, I just didn't know when I figured they would tell me when they had enough. So I was doing like, like I was just doing that for like 2 minutes straight. Right. And at one point I finally run out of breath. I go, okay. Is that enough or did you need another take? And he goes, we were done after the first 15 seconds. But you were just having so much fun, we didn't want to tell you to stop. We just figured we'd let you go until you ran out of steam, champ. That was amazing. So, it was a whole like Jimi Hendrix solo for like 2, it was great. So, the other thing that I like is, this isn't an ad-lib, but I took over a line. So, when he does his big boot attack, or when he does his ram attack, there's like a 1 in 50 chance that it plays an actual like ram bleat, and they had a stock sound effect for it, and I went, are they using a sound effect? And they were like, yeah. I was like, can I do one? And they were like, yeah. And I went, you know, like I did like a ram sound effect, and they really liked it. So now they replaced the sound effect with me going, so when that plays, it's me doing the voice. Yeah. Who else?
Panel here at 7.
Oh, okay. Get the fuck out of here.